The one thing I want to ask you about, just because it's something like you mentioned in terms of when you were weighing up what would happen if I transferred to the hospital, one of the first things they would have said is geriatric pregnancy, which is crazy because you mentioned you're 40 years old. How do you reconcile that kind of messaging in our culture that like there's a certain age where you're too old or you need extra help or you're high risk? And what's it like to be an older mom? How do you frame that? How do you just push against that and say no?
No, period. Well, personally, I know I'm healthier than I ever was. If I were to have given birth at 25, 28, after, a lovely time in college at Texas A&M, drinking all the beers, I was inflamed, the whole body inflamed. It would not have been the same experience. So yeah, I do know personally I'm healthier than I ever was. And I think, it's the limiting belief that the medical system has placed upon women, and we can either choose to accept it or not, and I choose not to accept it. Our eggs don't expire at 35 years old. You don't just suddenly become geriatric at 35 years old. We have the ability to continue to make eggs, just like men continue to make sperm. I don't know why or where that notion or that idea, it got thrown out and then used a lot, that, okay, you just expire.
Yeah, it's like that. If you repeat a lie enough, it just becomes a truth kind of thing, right?
Yeah, totally. And there's so many misconceptions in the birth world. And I think they're literally designed to, take away women's power. And it's unfortunate. And that's one of them. I think women can give birth, can get pregnant as long as they have a healthy cycle.
Yeah.
That may be 45, that may be 48. One of my early doula clients, or doula months, I should say, this was like second year of being a doula. I had 3 clients, and this was in May, and all of them were over 40, and they had all conceived naturally.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow. One from a one-night stand, another from, a marriage, and another from a boyfriend. So it was all different scenarios. But they just showed me that you could live your life, be healthy, and so that was on my radar.
Yeah.
And I think I kind of knew, okay, once I gained all the educational stuff, it was time for me to get pregnant. In God's timing, it would happen. And then I didn't consume any education while I was pregnant. I just literally read Yolanda's book, Portal, and game on, surrendered.
Yeah. Divine timing.
Yeah.
I love it. It's really good. And I think you're right. I appreciate you sharing that message too, because as you're speaking, I'm reminded of a conversation I had with a client of mine a couple of weeks ago who was 40, who just conceived naturally, who sat across the table from her doctor a couple of weeks ago, who was a man, who said to her these words: if you try to go full term, you will give birth to a stillborn baby because of your age.
Dick.
And I wanted to say, where is that guy's office? Because I'm going to go kick his door down and say, you have no right to say that.
Yeah.
It's terrible.
It's so rude.
And this is a healthy woman. She conceived naturally. The fact that people say this,
Find
these
a
are
new
our
doctor.
medical profession. And she fired him, thankfully.
Good.
So I hope you don't experience that.
We could talk about, I'm sure Kaylee talked about this, but the whole fertility industry is a money-making business. And, side note, if you're 35 or older, 25 or older, have these conversations with your partner, how far down the rabbit hole do we want to go?
Right.
As, for support conception-wise. And for me and my husband, we decided, no, we're not going to go into the assisted reproductive technology route, IVF, IUI. If it happens, it happens. We met each other later in life, and, it was just divine timing, and it all worked out. But we decided we're not going to do that. We're going to live our life as healthy as possible. And if it happens, great.